Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Rwagnation League Grand Prix. Here's the F2 cars first in the feature race, and then moving on to the sprint race. We are here in Spain, and as always, I'm Ben Raggy McConnell. Joining me on the caster's desk is the awesome Mr. Safso. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you doing on this fine evening?
I'm good. I'm tired. We're doing a little endurance race. I've just finished my stint of it, and let me tell you, it's been a sweat and a half, to say the least. But, you know, there's no stop for the wicked. We're here, racing in Spain, and I need to know who you're going with for the pole sitter today.
For pole sitter, I might seem like a boring bet. I think I'm going to go Beaker for today.
This is actually a circuit that he's normally pretty good at, so I think we can safely say yes, there's a pretty good chance he's going to be up there. However, this is actually another circuit that Niksana is very good at, so I'm actually going to go against you. I'm going to go Niksana for pole position. So, Beaker currently out there as it stands on the front of the grid with Niksana hunting him down. This is the area of the circuit which I find the hardest purely because it's so easy to lose the rear of the car here. Coming in towards turn 9, you obviously want to lift just a touch and then go around the outside and then steam it all the way down into the hardest, heaviest braking zone on this track. Right down the gears, maybe even go at gear 1 if you need to get the extra rotation. Beaker says, nope, I'll stay with gear 2, thank you. Probably the wisest thing to do. Watch out for the bump on the left-hand side, it can kill you. Long, sweepy right-hander, accelerate just the right amount at just the right time to get just the right exit into the final few corners. Some people hate this area of the circuit, some people love it, but I'll tell you something these cars don't like is the sausage curbs. Don't touch those, they will kill your car. Niksana appears to have invalidated because he's out of the running. And Beaker, your P1 prediction has come through.
Thank you very much, Beaker. I shall be collecting my bets in the morning.
Yeah. Well, you don't get any bets with me, okay? But he has secured half a second gap to P2. So huge lap there from Beaker. And if he can carry that into the Grand Prix, he has a very good chance of being way ahead of everybody.
Yeah, Niksana being way down really does help him. And actually something else to note, Horn Badger, our own lad, is up in 4th, very close to 3rd, which I'm not quite sure either of us were expecting.
No, definitely not. I mean, he said to me literally about 20 minutes ago, oh, I wish I'd practiced. So clearly he's either done a bit of practice or he's just got lucky. But Beaker on pole with a 128.181 with Marquez half a second behind him in P2 with Dazzler in P3, Badger P4, Toto P5, Hardy P6, Mini Duck P7, Raven Duck P8, Matt and WG Players, the last two that got a time on the board, and then your DQers or DNFers, Niksana, Thomas, Piloto, Maku, and Burrito Bandito. Well, I mean, you've seen the times now, okay? 2 questions. Who's going to be the bear duck today? Because they're back again, all 3 of them, and Raven Duck has been telling me how much he's annoyed at me for the fact that he can't be his duck, and this is his kryptonite.
Yeah, I was actually going to say Raven Duck could be a candidate for the top, but if it's raining, and if it is truly a weakness of his, I think you might have to go with Dazzler for, what, the 3rd time in a row?
Yeah, I mean, he's been the alpha duck every race so far, and he's made sure to let the other 2 know about it, and Raven Duck is the one who's very upset about it. The rain is definitely something that plays against him. He's very much like me in that respect. Not only does he really hate the circuit, but he also really doesn't like the rain either, so I'm not expecting Raven Duck to be the alpha duck today. I am going to back my man Dazzler Duck, but I also want to hear who your 1, 2, 3 is for this Grand Prix.
Well, I originally would have gone Beaker for the win, but considering it's the rain, we have seen Beaker struggle in the rain a couple times. So I'm actually going to say Marquez for the win, Beaker 2nd, and Badger for 3rd.
See, I'm going to go against all of that. I do think Beaker's still going to win. I think Dazzler is going to get P2, and I'm actually backing my boy Badger to get a P3 today.
Okay. So we've got the same P3, so we can agree on that.
Yeah, but you have
that
got
top
P1.
2 is into... Ooh.
See, I don't think Marquez is going to get into the top 3 today. He is actually one of the better F2 drivers on the circuit, but this is just one of them sort of circuits that I don't think suits his driving style. It might do. I hope he could prove me wrong. That'd be fantastic, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, as people Mini Duck and WG Plays seem to have had a collision as they've been both reset. Another one actually to look out for, Tortor. He has actually shown some impressive performances in outside of this league as well. So if anything happens up front, I wouldn't be surprised if he can snag up a good few points and potentially get a podium. But I think I'm going to stay with my top 3 now that I've said it.
All right, well, there you go. Let us see how we go moving forwards as more people are getting put back onto the start-finish line. They will need to very much get that reined in a little bit if they want to keep this going into the race. You can't afford to be having contact with the drivers. You cannot afford to be losing any of your front wing. This is a circuit which demands aerodynamical grip. If you lose any of it, you will find your times dropping by a good second or 2 each lap. Even worse in the rain.
Yeah, mistakes in the rain will pretty much kill your race. In the dry, it's kind of, ooh, okay, made a little mistake. In the rain, bye-bye, you're off track. So they've got to be extra careful. Obviously, they already know that. But, yeah. Hopefully, we do not commentate curse any of our top 3. And hopefully, everyone can have a nice, clean race.
All right. Here we go then. Beaker has got back into his grid box. We are just waiting for some of the back markers. I believe that is Matt. Yes, it is. He's the last one to make it to the grid box. And then we'll be getting underway. Now, this is a very important race. Sorry, an important part of the race because you have the run up towards turn 1. So you need to make sure your exit off the start, your launch, is as crisp and clean as you can. Even more so when it comes to these wet conditions because it's so hard to get traction. And it's going to be our boy Beaker with the lights on. He needs to get away cleanly here. Marquez wants the same thing. Lights are out. It's go time here. Let's go with Beaker. He's going to get a nice start. It looks like Marquez may have got a better one. In fact, scratch that. It looks like Dazzler had a really good start. Just could not find his way past Beaker due to how wide he's gone. There's a 3-wide situation, 4 wide almost. And that is, in fact, Badger, who's falling down the order. Contact! Lots of crashes at the front of the grid. That's Beaker who just got clipped into. I think Maku and Hardy have been knocked down the order. Nixana is right at the way at the back. Lots of cars off. That's Ravenduck, Nixana, Matt, and Burrito Bandito all caught up in one massive collision.
Yeah, and one person we haven't actually been talking about a lot, Piloto Pie, who is usually near the front. He's right on the back of Hardy's WG, losing the rear end all over the place. But here goes Piloto around the outside. Is he going to make it stick? It looks like. No, Hardy's actually on the inside. Of course, no, actually, Hardy has kept the position, but it's lost the rear end. Not into the wall quite, just about caught it. That's cost him a couple of places. He will not be happy with that, as Piloto will continue his charge towards the top. I didn't actually notice. Do you remember if he disqualified from qualifying or not? Because I was not expecting him to be this far down.
Who, sorry? Nixana? Yeah, he DQ'd. Oh, we've lost Matt. Matt's had a big crash. He's kept his front wing. Oh, he's lost the left end plate.
Left end plate.
Yeah, so that's not going to be helping him. And his back end is all over the shop as well. But we need to go back up to the front of the grid because Beaker is onto the gearbox of Marquez. There's obviously not going to be any DRS because of the fact that it's raining. So it is going to be all about the exit speeds and how much you can tow from the car ahead.
Yeah, this last corner especially, longest straight on the circuit. It's a very long run down to turn 1. So if either of these two make a slip up, maybe putting the throttle down too early, that's going to give whichever one doesn't have that mistake a very big advantage. And at the moment, it doesn't seem like slipstream, at least from half a second back, is going to be enough for Beaker. Marquez slightly losing it on the brakes. But as long as Marquez keeps it clean, it's going to be very hard for Beaker to get past.
It is. There's a lot of weaving and mistakes being made here between Piloto Pie, WG Plays, and Thomas. Thomas Etch on the inside here of Piloto. He's also got to worry about WG Plays ahead of him, because if he goes into the back of him, then there's going to be trouble for all 3 cars. WG Plays still holding it down the inside. Piloto could get a better run. He's also going to have the inside for the next corner if he can keep himself alongside of him. He knows that's important, and that's why he's going for the move down the inside. Keep it as tight as you can. Don't run wide. You will cause a collision. He did have a little tap there, and that has allowed Thomas to get inside of him as well. This could be 2 places lost here for WG Plays. If Thomas has got anything to say about it, he's going to try and keep himself ahead. He has just about done so, but WG Plays right down the inside again. A mistake was made. Contact was made, but they're still going strong. No damage on either car. Coming around the long right-hander. This is going to be very tense between them, but they've actually kept themselves together. They're still drag racing to the end.
Yeah, that was really great to watch. Is WG going for it on the inside again? And this is just a classic example of opportunistic racing. Oh, you're going to leave a gap? I'm going to slot into there. Thank you very much. And WG gets that place back. So I don't see that battle ending anytime soon, as Thomas might even have a look into the next corner. WG has lost the rear end again, but so is Thomas. It's Thomas on the inside. Oh, contact! WG goes off. I don't think that was too serious, though. I wouldn't be surprised if these two are just laughing it off in their rigs at the moment.
Yeah.
Just, this is a good time.
We've also got Beaker hunting Marquez down. He's closer than he has been throughout this entire Grand Prix, and he's about to look for an outside move into turn 1. This is a very difficult line, but if he can keep himself alongside, he'll have the inside for turn 2, but not turn 3. Marquez needs to stay alongside of him if he wants to hold on to this position. He has just about lost out. Or has he? Because he's still here, still wheel to wheel. I think Beaker's just managed to get himself covered off. And that brings Beaker now into race lead. Marquez looked for the inside. I think he was protecting himself from Tortor, potentially. Matt has had another spin. He is off the track. And that is probably going to end up being an early retirement.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Obviously a little disappointing, but it would be understandable given the circumstances. And Tortor actually, before Piloto did it, set the fastest lap on the last lap, so he is actually catching these two. That's how hard they're fighting. And speaking of Piloto, he's caught up to the back of Badger.
We've also got this same battle that has been raging on throughout this entire race, which has been WG Players and Thomas. They have not let each other have a moment to breathe, and they're still doing the exact same thing. What they don't realize is that they've been battling so much, they've built up a 4.3 second gap to the P5 and onwards, and that is realistically taking them out of the running or any sort of massive points positions. Still, P6 is good, but you want more than that. You don't want to just settle for a P6. Let the other driver go, then just focus on doing what you got to do. However, this has also allowed Dazzler Duck to get back into this as well. Remember, he started up there in P4, but he did, in fact, end up with issues. And yeah, contact between the two of them again. WG Plays runs off. Thomas loses out.
Dazzler.
Yeah. Straight on through on the inside. He's brought himself ahead, and that is now Dazzler up to P7, already looking for a potential move on WG Plays.
Yeah, as Piloto is now going around the outside of Badger. Turn 1 is a little bit of contact. No one's spun round, which is good to see. Badger falls down into P5. Fortunately, it looks like our top 3 prediction in terms of 3rd place might be going down the drain a bit, but of course, it's a wet race. We're only about halfway through now. In fact, I believe more or less exactly halfway through. So anything can still happen, as Dazzler is all over the back of WG.
Yeah, keeping it as clean as could be. Dazzler and WG Plays are now having a little bit of a scrap as well. WG Plays is about to lose out unless he can actually keep himself there. Thomas actually trying to capitalize on this as well. WG Plays really giving him a nudge. That's a bit too aggressive there from WG Plays. Just sending Dazzler off the circuit. He loses 2 places as well. That is going to need to be a bit of a talking to, I think, there for WG Plays. We cannot be allowing that to stay on the circuit. But Thomas and Nixana, they're now introduced into this battle for P6. I don't think it's going to be long before Dazzler brings himself back into this fight. Especially with the way that these lot keep putting each other off the circuit.
No, if Dazzler just keeps putting in the consistent laps, and if these 3 battle as hard as they have been for the last 4 laps, I imagine he'll be straight back into this battle, probably by lap 6, I reckon. But Thomas already looking for another move at WG, not quite close enough. Yeah, I think he's going to have to probably wait for some slipstream on the main straight, as I believe this is the closest battle on track at the moment, with Beaker pulling a bit of a gap to Marquez and so on and so forth. Piloto sets the fastest lap though, so he is catching. Let's watch the exits. I don't think anyone's got a significant gain on anyone. In fact, I think Nixana's lost out a little bit to Thomas. Thomas has got the slipstream. WG goes to the inside defensive. Now Thomas around the outside. We have seen a few moves here already. Can Thomas add to that list? WG's going to defend it. He goes down the inside a bit later on the brakes. They're both side by side. Oh, he's bound!
Yeah, Nixana manages to avoid the contact, avoid any unnecessary damage, and that has allowed him to keep himself in the running for a P6 position potentially. Dazzler will obviously close in a bit more as well. 2.5 seconds now between Nixana and WG Plays, and 2 seconds back for Dazzler. So Dazzler, yes, he may have been injured a little bit, not necessarily physically. His wing, I think, is still fully intact, but he had been sent off the circuit. He will, however, if he finishes where he is now, will start the next sprint race at the front of the grid.
Yeah. And it brings that extra element of sort of, do I really need to push that hard? Because it's a bit of a gap in front. I believe had Nixana not invalidated on their lap, they actually would have been very near pole. So, in that sort of sense, it's got to be that sort of argument in his head. Do I really push for it to try and get more places, or do I just stay where I am, don't take any risks, don't push the car more than it has to be, and then I can get pole position for the next race? But of course, as you've said multiple times, this is the race where you get the most points, so then that brings the counter-argument to it.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, when you are down in P8, you just got to ask yourself, like, is it actually worth going for P7? Toto and Piloto, actually. Toto had a bit of a back-end kick out there coming through the final corner. This has allowed Piloto player to get a run on him. He did actually back off at one point, did Piloto, and this is why we're going into turn 1 side by side effectively. Piloto read that situation better, said, look, just go. It's not worth us losing unnecessary time to P2 potentially. I can actually just take the run through turn 3. Although he hasn't quite got the grip he wants and the grip he needs in order to get Toto. This is going to be a good return drive from Toto, holding on to P3. We'll see now if this is an issue for him later.
Yeah, it's really just a game of who makes the bigger mistake first at the moment between the two teammates. Obviously, I reckon if this was F1 and they were teammates, they would be having a discussion on whether letting through would be valid. Because actually, Marquez is falling back from Beaker. Do you reckon these two, if they don't fight too hard, could they catch up to Marquez's below so he gets a penalty?
Yeah, that's not good, is it?
Not at all.
Piloto Payet trying to catch on to the back of Toto once more. WG plays actually losing time now to Nixana. I don't see this changing. We do still have 3 laps to go before the end of this Grand Prix. Beaker is considerably ahead now of the rest of the field. Mini Duck about to be lapped due to the wet weather. Doesn't seem to be something the Ducks like.
Which is a bit ironic considering their name.
Well, yeah, they actually swim on ducks quite nice. Ducks swim on water quite nicely. But Beaker now has a chance to get the perfect weekend. If he can keep hold of that fastest lap and take this win, he only has to repeat it in the next race, and he will have achieved the only achievement that only one other person has ever done before. And I haven't seen him in the F2 cars since, I don't think. Piloto Payet didn't actually want to send one on Toto. He just stayed back, allowed Toto to keep that line and keep his position. But I think it's going to be a matter of time before Piloto says, right, that's it, I've had enough.
Yeah, it's interesting. He pulled out the slipstream very early on that main straight. So he clearly isn't desperate to get past Toto, which could just be a sign of he's being very patient. But surely you want to get the move done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'd have thought so. But I mean, at the same time, the gap between P3, P2 is, like you say, 2 and a bit seconds. It's going to be very difficult. Ooh. Beaker. It is going to be very difficult for whoever does get the move to close in on Marquez in time. It is going to rely on a mistake, which looks like a mistake has been made. Or Toto just suddenly found his mojo because he's broken it down by 4/10 in just a few corners. Piloto Payet just sort of biding his time, hanging into the back of this here, and just seeing where this takes him. Right, coming up to the final few corners, it's going to need to be a perfect exit for Piloto. He's going to need to really commit on the home straight right the way up towards turn 1 if he wants to get P3 in the bag. I don't think there's been any penalties, for either of these two drivers. Oh, look at this. This has actually closed in quite nicely for P2. So suddenly, Piloto's game plan of just let Toto go and we'll see what happens actually is coming quite nicely. Toto is going to be feeling the pressure because he realizes how fast Piloto Payet is. Is Piloto going to fake out the outside? No, he's actually going to take the outside. I think he had a look to go back to the inside, but he couldn't quite get it. He's going to have to try and carry the momentum all the way around, but he doesn't want to lose time to P2, which is Marquez. And this is where you have to play it smart. You have still got enough time to get the move done later, but you need to get a pass done quick. Toto makes a mistake. This is Piloto's opportunity to bounce. He can see it. He can smell it. He's looking again for the outside because Toto's gone defensive. Cutback of dreams potentially for Piloto, but he doesn't necessarily want to be on the outside for the next corner. Otherwise, it's just going to be a bad run of dreams for him. Maybe inside. Nope. We're going to stay as is for now. Marquez will hold P2. Toto will stay P3 unless another mistake is made.
Yeah, Tortle, I think, is just cracking a little bit under the pressure. They've lost the rear end a fair few times now. Peloto not making quite as many mistakes. It could be just Tortle really pushing towards Marquez, or it is the pressure from Peloto, as you say, and maybe Peloto is just trying to make Tortle crack so he can have an easy overtake and then a smooth run to second place. He was now falling nearly 8 seconds behind Beaker, so I think that win is completely out of the question now in terms of who will get it, but this fight for P2 will, I reckon, go to the very, very end.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a question, though, whether or not Peloto and Torto can actually close in again on Marquez. They are still set just under that 1 second margin, which is great for the most part, but at the same time, you do need to get a move on. You can't sit back and just wait for things to happen. If you do get your pants going, as Peloto looks like he's about to do that, the gap is definitely closing. He's going to start getting more momentum. There he is, flicking out to the outside. He should be able to get himself in front by the time we get towards turn 1. No, he's not. Toto looks like he's got less wings. Again, we're going into it side by side. It's going to be a once more Toto keeping hold of this position. And there's got to be a moment where you ask yourself, is this actually going to benefit me in any way?
No, I think Peloto's waited too long now to make an overtake. Look, Peloto's now making a mistake. I think he's waited too long. I think he should have maybe tried... I can't remember which one, but he had a very good chance. I believe on lap 6 or 7, and then just backed out. I believe it was a run down into turn 1. Let's see, here he goes. Is he going to go for it? No, he's staying back still. But he has made Tortle go wide. That's going to give him a good exit. Are they going to go side by side into the chicane? Tortle's bogged down a bit afterwards. I'm not quite sure how that's happened. Yeah, Peloto's had to go fully off the track to avoid any kind of incident happening. The worst case scenario is that these two crash and then neither of them get P3. And as it seems, P2 is a little bit out of the question now. This also makes another little wiggle. This is going to be Peloto's best chance. Is he going to go to the inside, to the outside? Tortle goes to the outside. Peloto now goes very late to the inside. Again, makes Tortle switch his line. And I'll let you handle the last sector.
Well, I mean, it's just going to be a bloodbath, isn't it, realistically, coming through. We have got Beaker coming through the final couple of corners now. It's no question whether or not he's going to get the win and the fastest lap as well. Unless somebody can snatch that. Peloto Paya makes a mistake, and that has locked him out of P3. Marquez will come in P2. It will be Toto taking the third step of the podium, with Peloto getting a runner-up prize of P4. Nick Sana getting another penalty. That has not helped him, actually. Nick Sana is looking to try and pass Badger, but that penalty will mean, nope, not today, no chance. Good luck. P6 for him. Badger getting a nice, respectable P5, considering how his race started. WG plays P7. Dazzler will take P8 on the set. No, P7, sorry, due to the WG plays penalty. That is good news for him. He will start P2 in this sprint race, which we'll see in just a few moments. And this is going to be an opportunity now for Dazzler to really help cement that name even more as the better duck, because the other two are in P11 and P12. Something else to mention is Beaker is on track for a perfect weekend.
He is. And I just looking at the fastest laps now, I believe he's gotten it by over a whole second. No, sorry, my mistake. By 8/10, but that's still a big margin for fastest lap.
It is indeed. Okay, well, we'll have to bide our time.
As Raven Duck is still coming around.
Yeah, but he's had a bit of a mare. It's not been the best race for him. He did get caught up in the lap 1, turn 1 incident, which did send him right down the order and put him all the way at the back of the grid. But the wet weather is just something he cannot seem to get used to.
Nah. It does seem to be a bit of a weakness. It's certainly hurt him today. Peloto again, the driver of the day for the first race. We'll have to wait and see who gets it for the second race. There's Beaker on the podium doing his little signature dance at this point. I'm pretty sure I don't think he uses another podium emote.
No, just that one. That's all he likes. But I mean, it was a very good drive from Beaker. I really hope that he can actually bring it on home and get the full, the full perfect weekend. Getting the podium, the pole position in the qualifying, then getting the win and the fastest lap in the second race. He's going to need to do it all over again but even harder this time because he's starting down in P8. So here is how that race panned out. Beaker gained the win along with the fastest lap, like we said. So he's got 27 points to add to his already existing 4. Marquez in P2, Tortor in P3 with Piloto in 4th. Badger getting 5th place with Nixana in 6th. Dazzler getting 7th due to the penalty that WG Play has. He did cross the line in P7, but he drops to P8. Thomas in P9. Hardy getting the final point with Raymond Duck getting best of the rest, along with Mini Duck in P12. Matt, Burrito, and Maku all DNF'd from this session. So they do have a chance to redeem themselves in this next race. Let's just see what the weather is there. Is it going to be raining there again, or is it going to be nice and dry?
We're going to have to wait and see. I'm not sure if they have a sort of weather continuation system. No, it is dry.
Oh.
Bone dry.
Well, we will have to enjoy this race to the end. Let's just say that, because this is going to be everybody feeling confident. With DRS being available as well in the dry conditions, means that the whole run down the home straight is going to be very lively. That's a guarantee.
Yeah, I am very much looking forward to seeing what will happen down at turn 1. Who do you think is going to be at the top 3 for this race?
Oh,
I know that's often your question.
Yeah, normally it's me that's screwing people over, but today it's your turn for this one. Honestly, it's so hard to guess. It's just one of those sort of situations where if you're down the order, oh, what was that? WG Plays weaving. Dazzler went for an overtake. That's reset them both back onto the grid. I don't know who we can point the finger at there, actually. I think I
saw Dazzler initiate that.
Yeah.
I think Dazzler did initiate that, and then WG retaliated. A bit of an extreme way, but still a retaliation.
Yeah.
As it looks like Nixana is going for the win of the formation lap at the moment.
Yeah, Marquez is in a similar boat. He's actually trying to pass Badger. Nixana is obviously still the leader. He was actually P3 at the start of this formation lap. Watch out for Marquez. He's already gone up a fair few places. He's going for a move here on Badger on the formation lap. You must know that the race starts the next lap, right?
I'm not sure Marquez cares. I think he wants to just get some overtaking experience.
Yeah, I think he might want to get that where he can. You know, the DRS will be available on this straight here and on the home straight. This one that they've just gone through here is more to try and close themselves back up again and see if they can open up an opportunity on the home straight. But you got a long right-hander here and then a couple of awkward corners where it's so easy to lose all that time you've secured from that first DRS zone. Sometimes it's actually worth to just go for the move in that middle DRS zone.
Yeah. A tactic I've heard a few people use with the whole overtaking between DRS zones is you want to overtake in a section where there isn't a DRS zone immediately after, and so you can try and build a bit of a gap for the next DRS zone, so that then when they get that DRS, they can't use it against you. So I would like to see if anyone uses that tactic today.
Well then, here we are on the track once more for the final time in the F2 races before we move over to the F1 Grand Prix. Now we do have, like we said, WG Place is going to be starting us off on this grid. We have Nixana coming up there in P3. Dazzler, he has a chance now to show how good he can be. He's in P2. He's got a good run up towards turn 1. He has to get the start of Dreams, because if you don't, you will very easily get yourself swamped here. So the lights are on then here in the Spanish Grand Prix for the F2 sprint race. And it's go time here. Dazzler needs to get a good run. He hasn't quite got the exit he needed. That's allowed Nixana to have a good run alongside of him. WG Plays actually gets a great start. Badger's kind of watching this all unfold a little bit. Dazzler's going to fall down to P3. Badger's going to try and go around the outside here. This is going to be very difficult to make this work. And that's Dazzler giving him just enough room. Tortor squeezing himself alongside Badger. He's going around the outside. A little bit of a nudge between them. Badger's been pinballed. He's been caught up. A big crash into the wall. And that is so unfortunate. Badger was just continuously pinballed around. He could not get himself out of that at all, no matter what he tried. And we have a battle for race lead.
Yeah, there's battles all over the place at the moment. I'm on board with Biku, who's actually on the hard tyres for this race. Obviously, I think we've said a few times they can't actually select their tyres. But yeah, there's going to be a lot more battling in this race, I can already tell.
Yeah. Beaker. Oh, Raven Duck's
That's
gone.
Raven Duck.
I don't think there was a touch there. That looked like it was just a mistake all on him. And that is him out of this Grand Prix. Beaker having to get a move on. He's still P8 despite all of the contacts that's happened ahead. And Nixana's got down the inside of WG Plays. WG Plays is stuck on the outside of him. He's going to want to go alongside of him here throughout. And he has had a bit of a wobble. But he somehow maintains P1.
He does like to stick it down the inside just after he's lost a position, doesn't he?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like very much a yeet fest from a couple of these drivers. Oh, that's not how you want to take that corner, Marquez. Straight over this.
Oh, no. Hardy and I believe that's... Who is that?
That's McCoo.
Hardy and McCoo.
Yeah.
I
didn't see what happened, though.
I believe it was one of the two. Maybe Hardy losing the rear end, McCoo being right behind, can react in time. Spend Hardy round and himself round in the process, as something's happened.
Then Marquez went for a move down the inside on Dazzler, and it did not work out at all. Dazzler has just about kept himself alive alongside Marquez now. He is trying to keep with Toto because he knows the importance here of having a great finish. And despite what the telemetry says on the left-hand side, we are still on lap 2. We've not yet got to lap 3, and it is Nixana who is your race leader ahead of WG Plays.
And I believe it's just corrected itself now, at least on my end. So hopefully that should help with anyone trying to look at the gaps. And Beaker is still in 6th, so the perfect weekend isn't completely out of the question, but he has already got a bit of a distance to the lead. And it's going to be a very tall order as he's in the slipstream. Marquez now pulls to the outside. And they both break about the same time, and Marquez keeps the position. I think Beaker's going to have to rely on the DRS to do some overtaking today, isn't he?
Well, not just that, he's going to have to rely on a perfect exit, purely based on the fact that Dazzler is also going to be giving DRS to Marquez, so you will only have so much available to you. It's down to, or the exit speed's coming through this corner here. Beaker needs to get a better run. He is obviously on the hard tyres. He's not quite got the grip as the guys ahead of him do, but he is closer to Marquez. Marquez is actually pulled out of the tow for Dazzler. This is beautiful here for Beaker. He is in the tow quite heavily. I know it says DRS is available on the right side, but I assure you it isn't. Dazzler has come back over across. Beaker down the inside into turn 1. Deep into it, straight into the side of Marquez, sending him off the circuit. Marquez has brought himself back, but the elbows were definitely out. Marquez is wanting to retaliate.
Yeah, he really did not want to lose that position. Obviously wanted to keep Beaker behind for as long as humanly possible, but that's WG off in the gravel.
Toto sent it a bit too deep into that corner, actually sent WG Plays off the circuit. That is very much a naughty mistake to make there from Toto. That is another individual who's going to need a little bit of a talking to, I think, from the stewards. It obviously isn't being properly stewarded, but we will only tolerate so much before they have to be dealt with. Here we are, though. Again, now the DRS is available. Now what you're seeing on the telemetry on the left-hand side and the bar at the bottom is actually correct. So, Beaker, who is in P4, isn't far away from race leader Nixana, who's 2.5 seconds ahead of Toto, who's only a second and a bit ahead of Beaker.
Yeah, and if Dazzler stays out of that 1 second window with Tortor, that's going to leave him an absolute, not to pun here, a sitting duck for Beaker. So here we go, and he's got a bad exit as well. This is going to be easy pipping to Beaker down the inside with the DRS. He says, thank you very much. I will carry on my charge towards the lead.
Yeah, Nixana has got the fastest lap now, though, so it is going to be a bit of a problem for him. He's going to have to worry about it. Here goes Marquez deep into turn 1. Hard on the brakes. Going to have to watch out for Dazzler on the outside. A little bit of contact. I feel like that was Marquez, to be honest. If you're going to send it that hard, that tight, that far back, you are going to have some issues. And unfortunately, Marquez will fall to P8, sorry, as Thomas just slips on by. But they're running for Dazzler, looking for a potential podium. Is still here, but Beaker has to get a move on now.
Yeah, this is, if Beaker was in the Mercedes garage, I believe they'd be saying hammer time right now. This is the best time to push, especially on these hard tires. He's absolutely going to be able to get those to the end, whereas the mediums, maybe they might start wearing on the last lap. But Beaker should be able to push for the entirety of this race, and hopefully he can put some, from a neutral's perspective, of course, hopefully he can put some pressure on Tortor later down the line.
Yeah, I mean, the timing doesn't seem to be favouring Beaker at the minute. Again, the hard tyres on Beaker have made this task much harder to achieve, if at all possible. Piloto Paya taking away the fastest lap from the front runners. That was from Nixana. So he's going to be making it even harder for Bika. Penalty there for Tortor means that Bika will likely pass Tortor regardless because of that penalty. It is now just about what does he do about Nixana?
Well, Nixana is currently on 1 warning, so if Nixana gets 2 more warnings and Bika keeps it nice and clean, unlike the wet race, then it could be game back on for him. But at the moment, time is really against him at the moment, isn't it? As we actually have Matt catching Dazzler. So that could be a fight to watch, as Dazzler is really losing out to Bika now. Nearly 2 seconds behind, but Matt now within a second. We're not over for battles just yet.
Matt is in fact an AI, so he won't,
yes.
He won't actually be driving himself around, but he is, like you say, closing in on Matt. The F2 AI is clearly OP, needs nerfing. Please, Cody's, help us out. Yellow flag there, that is Thomas.
He's gone
had
round.
A bit of a spin, yeah. He's kept his wing intact, so no dramas for him there. But he is very much in a bit of a pickle here. Is that Mini Duck being hunted by Hardy? I think it is. Yes, it is. Alright, so scrap gonna happen.
Hopefully, because we're getting a little less action than I think we expected. Yellow flag in sector 2, that's Burrito Bandito fully out of the session now. That is our 3rd retirement of the session. As Hardy has got DRS on Mediduck. Can he catch up enough to go for a move? Not quite yet. Oh no, he's diving from very far back. Is that going to work? It is, by the looks of it, but Mediduck keeping it on the outside. Tortle gets another penalty as Mediduck is forced off the track. But I don't think there's anything too malicious there, as Hardy has now gotten past one of the ducks.
And Dazzler Duck is trying to defend himself against Matt. He is holding on for a P4 here. Matt, being the AI, is likely to not make a mistake. He may still get caught out. Bika has actually closed in on Tortor now, who we know has got 2 lots of penalties, which I think are 4 seconds in total now. So Bika will gain on Tortor regardless. It's just, how does he actually fix this issue he's got with Nixana?
Is there even a fix? I mean, he has his personal best is quicker than Nixana's at the moment. The fastest lap currently going to Piloto Paya, who is about 6/10 quicker than the lead drivers at the moment. But of course, that's on fresh medium tyres. He did have to pit in for those. But yeah, I think at the moment, if you're Bika, you're going to have to settle for a P2, which is still definitely going to be the weekend win, no doubt. But being that close to a perfect weekend and not getting it might hurt a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing you got to think about is he's been dealt a really difficult card here. Driving this race on the hards when everybody else is on mediums is, no good. If it was in the feature race, maybe, because the tires would last a bit longer, they'd be better for longer as well, which would be ideal, but we're in a sprint race. This is where it's all down to outright sprint, and he needs the better tires for it. He needs better momentum, which is exactly what he's got right now. Coming in towards turn 1, he's going to have to take the outside. He's going to stick it through. Tortor runs a little bit deep into turn 1. Doesn't actually cause any contact, but it would have been if Bika hadn't have backed out. And Bika now has to go for a bit of a delayed reaction to Tortor. It doesn't actually have to pass him, but Nixana's lost a bit of time to Tortor.
Yeah, a little bit, but is it going to be enough? Really, Bika's only saving grace in terms of getting the win would be Nixana gets 1 or 2 penalties. I will quickly check the warning situation. Nixana is on 2 warnings. So if he makes a big mistake and gets a penalty, maybe, just maybe, but at the moment it does look like P2 is the best Bika's going to get.
Well, Bika not only needs to gain, I think he might actually, have a look at the gap to leader. He is 1/10 out of it. I'm going to leave that gap to leader on, just so we can see how it fares off later. He's right on that limit. Is it 3 seconds in 25%? I think it is.
It is. It's 2 seconds for each penalty. Hence why Tortles is 4 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe not then. Thomas has got himself a penalty. Nixana is going through the final couple of corners now. Is there going to be any issues? Nope. No penalties for Nixana, so he will take the win. No perfect weekend for Bika, but a beautiful P2. And no fastest lap for him either. So he couldn't have got the perfect weekend even if Nixana had a penalty. But still, I mean, that's very much favoured towards Bika here. I think mathematically He's way ahead now, the overall weekend win. But still, Beaker drove like an absolute machine on those hards.
Yeah, 8th to 2nd. I don't know many people that could do that in this F2 grid, but he has been able to pull it off. Thomas, I think in the sprint race, 8th is the cutoff for points. I know Hardy jumps him on penalties by just under a second, so Hardy actually gets that last point. Mini Duck gets last out of the finishing ducks, and then Raven Duck will have to settle for another loss towards Dazzler. I haven't been keeping touch on Raven versus Mini, but yeah, that's going to be another week of Dazzler having a bit of fun with those two.
Yep. Yep, it is. Dazzler's going to be letting them both know. And very deservedly as well. You know, he is the faster duck, he is the better duck, and it's going to be another week of torment for the others. I don't think they deserve a let-off either, to be honest. I think they deserve it.
No, yeah, I agree with you on that.
And here we are at the F2 podium for the final time. We are going to be moving to the F1 race in just a moment, so stay tuned, go nowhere, as we're going to get the rundown as to how that race finished off. So it is, of course, Nixana who finished in with the first place. Beaker did actually get the fastest lap, so he could have had the best. I think it's because he got his lap in the top 10, so he apparently counts. He gets the 2 points anyway, that's for sure. So Beaker almost gets the perfect weekend. He was one position away. If Nixana had got that penalty, there was a chance that Beaker could have got it. Tortor coming in P3, Dazzler P4, Matt P5, WG plays P6, Marquez P7, Hardy P8, Thomas in P9, Mini Duck P10, Badger gets best of the rest with Piloto P12, Burrito Bonito P13, Maku 14th, and Raven Duck in last place. But the overall weekend results, obviously, it's Beaker who gets the win. He is miles ahead, 20 points ahead of Tortor in P2, Nixana in P3, Marquez P4, Dazzler P5, Piloto P6, Badger P7, WG plays P8, Matt P9, Thomas P10, Hardy P11, Mini Duck 12, Burrito Bandito 13th, Maku 14th, and Raven Duck in last place. So, we are going to move over to the F1 race in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with you in just a few moments.